Hello,
Hello,
I'm Win Anthony,
and I'm Jude Savage.
and welcome to our podcast channel,
Quest.
The Search for Truth.
And in today's episode, we are going to be discussing
Ghosts.
Ooh.
And what are they?
Well, what is a ghost? Or what? Yes, more accurately, what are ghosts?
What are ghosts?
I don't know. Yeah, what do we think of when we think of the word ghost?
Well, people think of these sort of white sheets, and traditionally, didn't they, of white sheets and, graveyards and cemeteries.
Yeah, why the white sheet?
Well, I think that comes from when people were buried in shrouds and they were wrapped in a shroud, which was usually white or, linen or that kind of fabric. And I suppose it came from that, really.
Yeah, and then they were transformed into a ghost, still wearing the shroud.
Well, yeah, so people claimed, and it's also like the rattling chains and purgatory or purgatron, and they were between two worlds and they couldn't rest. It was that sort of thing, wasn't it?
I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? When we think of ghosts, or most people think of ghosts, they think of the spirit, and this is in the dictionary as well, the spirit of a dead person.
Is that what it says?
But why person? Why not animals? Because we know that there are sightings of animal ghosts. Are they ghosts?
You're going into a completely complex area there, because some people believe that there are shared souls, that so many animals are one soul, if you like, and that there are divided souls and split souls, and those sort of things, which gets very, very complicated. So what do you think is a ghost, Jude?
Honestly, I don't know.
No, nor do I. There are many, many theories, and you can speculate as to what is a ghost and where a ghost comes from and why it's there. But the truth of the matter is, we don't know.
We don't know. No, exactly.
So,
do you think... sorry, carry on.
I was going to say I'm going to stick my neck out a little bit. Probably to get chopped off by all the haters. But I care, don't I? Yeah, no. I think there's many types of ghosts.
Yeah.
I don't think there is one particular type of ghost. I think you've got things like radiance and poltergeist, which is disturbed energy. I think you've got wraiths, and I think you've got shadow people, which are people who are saying are ghosts, or they're interdimensional or ultra-dimensional beings, subject for another time. And then you've got demons, you've got elementals, you've got resonance, you've got trapped memories, you've got echoes in time, you've got all these different things, and I think people kind of bunch them together as being a ghost.
Yeah.
So what quantifies as a real ghost? That's what we kind of want to talk about. And whenever we do these podcasts, we always say we're going to give you sort of information. It's up to you to make up your own mind. We're not trying to convert you or convince you. We are just putting out there what the different theories are. I have my theories, and it's slightly different to yours, aren't they? Or are they?
Well, I think
very similar, I think.
Yeah, I think
they're still slightly different, aren't they?
We agree that we don't know. I think that's the thing. I think too many people are arrogant enough to say, well, this is this and that's that, whether they're skeptics or believers. Yeah. And I think you've got to keep an open mind.
Well, people swear down all the time. This is a ghost is this, a poltergeist is that, and this is, and they're telling me. I mean, culturally as well, where you come from, I think, kind of gives you a kind of sense of your belief system as well. I mean,
really
you're
important.
English, aren't you? You're traditionally English.
Yes.
I'm Irish, traditionally Irish, so very different folklore set up.
Yeah, it's what you were raised with as well, isn't it?
I think very much so what you were raised with,
Yeah, so do you think there are certain people are more sensitive
Definitely.
than others to ghosts and otherworldly spirits?
I do. I think children in particular are very susceptible to ghosts and spirits and fairies, if you like.
And animals too.
Yeah. Totally animals, but children. Let's come to animals in a second. But children, I think in particular, they are they're in the age of innocence, aren't they? Yeah. As they get older, the age of skepticism kind of sets in. Usually about 8 or 9.
I think that's when we start to try and explain things away.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because as a culture, and lots of cultures do, we convince our children that the tooth fairies come in. There's fairies at the bottom of the garden.
Yes.
And we kind of paint this glossy picture of fairies, and as they get older, we stop talking about Santa Claus. Yeah. Although Santa Claus is not a fairy, but that kind of thing.
All of those kind of the magic, really, I guess, of things goes as
and the fantasy, because fantasy and magic go hand in hand.
So I think children definitely are more sensitive.
For sure.
I mean, you mentioned poltergeists.
Yeah.
Now they often seem to be associated with like teenagers, prepubescent. Do you think that's to do with hormones? Do you think it's energy?
For sure.
that's kind of attracting
For
this.
sure, but I think the basic meaning of poltergeist from the German is
noisy,
just disturbed spirit, just disturbed energy, I would say.
Yeah. So you also mentioned wraiths.
Wraiths is something you don't hear. I don't know whether it's more Irish.
I'd not heard it until our experience.
Oh, our experience.
Yeah, now
this is. Talk about that. That's
I sit up and take notice when people are talking about ghosts when they have a shared experience.
Yeah, that's usually the sign it's a real ghost.
Yes, I think it's much harder to explain away when at least two or more people have seen the same thing and experienced the same thing. Because as we know, ghosts aren't always seen. No. A lot of the time they're felt or heard even, or there's a touch, or possibly, certainly a high percentage is not seen,
and
but
they're heard
felt.
And smelt. That's another thing. This olfactory sense of smell, phantom fragrances are often smelt, etc. Whether that's perfume or cigarette smells or fish seems to
or horrible smells.
Rotting smell. It's usually associated with a really bad spirit or an elemental, which we'll come on to later, because they're a different type of spirit altogether.
So many different things. So our shared experience. Would you like to start?
Well, we'd been out, hadn't we?
We've been out on a night. This is a long time ago.
We've known each other a long time. So we're going back 20 years now.
It's about 20 years, I think.
About 20 years.
And we'd been out on a night out.
Yeah.
And we were in good spirits.
You were stone cold sober.
I was very sober because I was driving.
Yeah.
So let's get that clear.
And I was drunk. I'm Irish, but I'm not being racist.
I don't think you were really drunk, to be honest.
Because I was.
Well, you were holding a good conversation.
What's the point of going out if you're not drunk?
Well, I was driving, so I wasn't drunk.
Well, I can kind of sober up, but I know it'd gone 2 a.m.
Yeah, so it's early hours of the morning, and we were on country lanes.
Yeah, windy, windy country lane.
Very much.
In autumn this time of year, wasn't it?
It was, around this time of year. And there were hedges either side of the road, weren't there? Quite high hedges. Quite high hedges either side. And we were happily in mid-conversation, weren't we?
About something random.
Probably, knowing us.
Well, you're an Aries and I'm a Scorpio, so it was definitely random.
I explained it. And from my experience, I saw in the distance, as I was talking to you, further up in the road, we're on quite a straight piece of road at that point, and there was a bend coming up, and I saw on this bend, coming from the side of the hedge, what looked like smoke. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, you get mist, don't you, sometimes when you're driving down the country road in the UK, you get this kind of hazy, misty,
that kind of dampness in the air. But it was more than that. And the closer we got, I realised, this is the best way I can describe it, is if somebody had got smoke and managed to form it into a shape.
Ectoplasm. Yeah. It was your classic ectoplasm kind of energies.
And then the closer we got, the more I realised this isn't smoke, and also it became clearer, the outline, very clearly, of a woman, and she was coming into the road, and she stood in the middle of the road, and she turned as the car came closer to her, and as it got closer and closer, I realised that I could see very clearly the outline of her face, her torso, no legs.
No, I didn't see legs either.
And she turned and faced the car, and she put her hand out like that and looked, and there was an exchange, wasn't there? Because she looked at us. Now, bearing in mind, I'd not said anything at this point, because I was just kind of thinking, what the hell is going on? And I swerved, and my natural instinct was to swerve the car so as to not hit this thing. Fortunately, there wasn't anything coming on the other side of the road. And as I did so, it sort of came through the car and disappeared.
You squished her.
And had I been on my own, I probably would have thought...
Yeah, you said this before.
I would have explained this away, I think. I probably would have thought, no, I can't think like that. Because I like to be rational about things. I probably would have thought, no, I must have put this down. I must have had some moment. I don't know what it was, but no, surely not. But what clarified it for me was the fact that you then spoke.
Well,
because you realised that we'd seen the same thing.
What you've got to understand, though, is being from an Irish descent and growing up in this country, during the 1960s and in the 70s, is that you didn't talk about anything paranormal. Although it was very much in my family. I'm one of 11 children. 6 of us were born with the ability. 5 were not. My grandparents were psychics. My great grandparents,
long.
Won't bore you. More on my father's side. So you never talked about it because back then it was considered to do with witchcraft and demonology, and then inevitably it was somehow linked to child molestation. So you didn't talk about it because it was taboo. So all of my life I'd seen things as a child, born seeing, as my father used to do. Born seeing this, born seeing that. And as I grew up, I used to see the spirits that used to come through the wall and try and attack my brother. I saw many, many things, but you don't talk about it. You just, you let it go, because otherwise you're a fruitcake, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen lots of things before in the past, but it was always the classic, the shadows out the corner of my eye, the outline of something. Nothing as clear as this.
I know, but I think we were going down that country road, and we'd been on that country road a good 10 to 15 minutes before, and it was total stark black of night, wasn't it? The dark hours of the morning. And I saw her, and I looked right at her, and she looked right at us, not just me, but she kind of looked at us. So she was almost, do I use the word activated? She was knowing.
She was, there was an exchange, like you said, there's an exchange of energy that took place. We saw her, and she saw us. Yeah,
at that same time. And we're not, it's hard to describe the feeling, because like you said, there's an exchange of energy. When you do those things, you look at that, whatever it was, and it looked at us, and then you went straight through it, and I was like, oh, and I felt it, kind of the coldness on my shoulders, literally the middle, and I noticed you'd swerved the car and kind of gone, and it was about, you'd gone a little bit further, and I looked at you, and it suddenly occurred to me, and I said to you, you saw that,
and that's what clinched it for me, that I knew I wasn't having some kind of
like,
weird hallucination.
Yeah, I did see that, and I said,
and then you described, and I'd said nothing, and then you described her, and you went, oh, it was a woman, she was quite tall, wasn't she, and she didn't have legs, and I was like, oh my God, he's seen
she's very elegant, wasn't she? Very thin, very elegant.
But you described exactly what I'd seen, and then I knew, hang on a minute, this isn't something that I've just made up. He's seen exactly what
of course, because we saw it together, and I was like, oh wow, this is something for one of the first times. There'd been other times, my brother would often see things the same time as me, but it was one of the first times that somebody outside of the family had actually seen what I can see. Because I would have just passed it off as like, oh, okay, it happened, and not said anything. And then I remember looking at you, and you were quite shook looking. You were a bit shook looking.
Well, you don't go along through life expecting to see a ghost.
Me being me, I said to Jude, I said, you know what, that spirit was probably murdered 300 years ago, and it's lain in the grave for 300 years, and it's crawled out the grave. Finally, I'm free, and
you squished it.
You squished it, back you go, love. You're not coming in, off you pop.
Poor woman.
And you, because I was trying to make light, because Jude did actually, you did look a bit scared.
Well, it was just, it shook me. I was scared because you'd seen it, and I couldn't rationalise.
What's strange is, though, she had a kind of kind but evil face.
Yes.
I can't really.
No, it was a very.
There was a kindness, but there was evil. Like something that was once good had turned bad.
Yes. I didn't feel that she was intending to harm us.
No, but it was literally, it saw us as we saw it.
Yes.
Whatever it was, and then you squished her.
And then I squished her. Back to the grave you go.
Back to the grave, off you pop.
Yeah, so if you've had an experience that hasn't just been you've shared it with somebody else, then let us know, because that's really interesting actually. If it's something that you and somebody else, or several of you, have seen or heard or felt, then we are interested in your comments too.
But that's the thing, isn't it? We're discussing what we saw, not necessarily what we felt, but we both felt at the same time something passed through the car that was obvious, and it was cold, and it shook us. Well, it didn't. It
was just an odd. It was just such a weird experience.
I've never really got used to it, even as a child. I'd laugh at it, but I'm a bit disturbed in that way.
So that was a wraith, wasn't it?
That was a wraith. It was like smoky, and bits of smoke all joined together that formed. Has anybody ever seen when people smoking a cigarette?
You've got that bit, but it's like I said, it's if somebody had got that smoke and
it'd be a giant cigarette, wouldn't it, on the country road at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Huge, and managed to mould it. But their features were very
they
clear,
were most clear,
weren't they?
Yeah,
and you could see her arm.
We discussed recently about going back, because we've never been back there, have we?
No, we should go back and see.
It's actually not that far away.
No, we should take a team of people with us and see if we can
re-squish her.
I was going to say that, but you probably think, no, you're not getting
it's not back again. Run.
Probably be another 3 years.
I think that's what we call a wraith.
Okay. So tell me about radiance, because I'm not sure that many people have heard that.
No, they probably haven't heard about radiance, to be honest with you. But I don't know, sometimes these things are exclusive to my family, or I don't know whether my family just gave them these names because they were trying to categorise them and understand them. But a radiant is usually a child below the age of 6 and lower, and they appear, and they're often golden haired, and they appear with a radiance around them, a brightness around them.
And are they lost? Are they warnings?
I think they belong to a category, and again in my family, that we would consider the trickster brigade.
Okay.
We would consider them tricksters purely because they usually come to warn of something bad.
Right.
But it can be a trick, it could be something good. We know a lot more about spirits and ghosts, etc. these days than we did before, because if you look at the stone tape theory, that's like a recording, is it? Almost? I think when a tragic event has taken place, like a rape or a murder or something that's highly emotive, and those energies go into the floors and the walls and the wood and everything around
it's like
it.
It's recorded it.
Yeah, and so at a later date, when the atmosphere is very similar to what it was when those events took place, it replays itself.
Okay, so in that instance, it's not an exchange like we had, where that, and other people have had where they've said, I've spoken to this
me,
ghost.
what we had is a true ghost.
Yes.
Because we interacted.
This is more like a recording like you would have on a DVD.
Just an echo
Okay.
of something that once happened.
Yeah. Okay.
A recording that plays itself back at a later date. And you often hear those stories, don't you, why somebody was walking through and you can only see half of their legs, or they were higher or they were lower, and people have seen Roman soldiers but they were marching lower down, and you can only see part there, or they're marching higher up because the ground level at the time
was different
at the time.
Which would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Don't even get me started on haunted teapots and dolls. No. Because you know what, there are about 1,000 people out there right now going on this doll I found in a charity shop for $1.99 is haunted. It comes alive at midnight and pisses in my teapot.
All dolls do that.
Well, yeah, they do.
Because they're just creepy.
I'm really, I'm going to upset a lot of people probably by saying this, and I'm really, do I care? No, because it's
nonsense.
No.
Okay.
Just no. Because you know what? Inanimate objects, in terms of chairs or a sofa or a doll or a teddy bear, it's very rare that something would haunt, I think. That the energy of something would go into that.
Yeah.
But there seems to be this belief going around the internet at the moment, and people have like their little ghost museums that every doll that they've got is haunted by, Lady Armitage. You died, right? You're dead. You croaked it. Right, and then you come back and there's some, I'm a ghost. Oh, I know what, I'm going to go into a plastic doll from 1972.
Why would you?
In a boundless universe. Universes of universes. There must be parallel worlds of everywhere you want to go. I'm going to go into this 1972 plastic Barbie. And it's like, I spoke to somebody recently and they had 900 and something dolls in their haunted museum.
Right.
And they all had different spirits.
And they were all haunted, were they?
Obviously.
Okay.
You go around a car boot and buy a doll, it's haunted. No.
Okay. So I take it then, Wayne, that you don't believe in haunted dolls.
No, I do. I do believe that there's haunted dolls. I do believe that there's haunted inanimate objects like beds, and they carry the energy of that person.
That's the difference.
But do I believe you have a museum of 968 dolls that are all haunted by different spirits that occupy these beings? No, I don't. It's like, stop. One of us is lying.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Okay.
And it just seems to be the craze at the moment on the internet. It's all about getting clicks and likes.
Yeah. So take everything with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, as I got older, Jude, the only thing that clicks with me is my hip. And the only thing I like is cake. I'm not busy in my time with looking at stupid, ugly dolls. I don't like them. They're
So are some of them doomed? Is that why they're ghosts? Are they doomed to walk the night?
Yeah. So is that the thing? Because we haven't even got into the category of demons, have we?
No.
What is classified as a demon? Should that be a separate podcast, do you think?
What
is a demon? Because a demon can be a bad person, can't it, I think, as well?
Yeah. Because some of these ghosts under that heading were never human.
Never human to begin with. We're talking about elementals, aren't we? Spirits of earth, air, fire and water.
In Manchester.
And Manchester, always, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we're talking about demon or demonic spirits. They're a very, very separate sort of entity, aren't they? And I think sometimes people interchange those between a disturbed spirit. And, I'm not one of those people that believe that spirits can attack you either.
No. Well, now we're getting into the rules of the dead as well. If they are
they're almost like, I've got 3 scratches on my arm, therefore it represents the Antichrist because 3 represents the Trinity. Did you scratch yourself in the night?
Well,
are we too willing to believe that these negative things are spirits when they're just actually normal things made to look supernatural from the natural?
Yeah.
So it's a whole different. We'll talk about that another time, shall we?
I think so. Yeah.
And we've got things like demons, elementals. We've got how to protect yourself from those, which I grew up with. You've got vampires, and they're all kind of like vampires, vampire ghosts. It's the undead.
Yeah.
So it's between 2 worlds. Yeah. Ghouls, ghosties, the book in Irish literature.
Yeah. You also got like we were talking about, animal spirits, portents.
Yeah. Messages.
Yeah.
So I think when people don't understand things, and that's the whole point of this podcast, is they group them into all one section.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is begin to separate those things as to what is this and what is that. We need more clarity, don't we?
Yeah. That's why we're doing Quest.
The search for truth. But we don't want you to live our truth. We want you to find your truth.
Yeah. Whatever you believe in. So, if you have had some sort of experience that you think is ghostly, shall we put it like that?
Yeah, supernatural.
Yeah.
Beyond the natural.
Let us know.
You can email us. That's always good. We will respond.
Yeah.
Or give us some suggestions about what you want to hear. What is the email?
It's quest.thesearchfortruth@gmail.com.
Yeah.
You can also leave us comments. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. Just search Quest the Search for Truth. And you'll find us on YouTube for those of you that are listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are watching our YouTube channel, we also have the podcast.
And we also hope that we've made this very muddy area a little bit clearer in a muddy way.
Yeah, in a very muddy way.
In a very muddy way.
So until next time,
bye for now.